What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright, joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how you doing?
Doing well, Steve. Just got back from a little vacation. I was at a friend's bachelor party for the weekend down in Ocean City, Maryland, so took Monday off as well. So a long day at work getting caught up on everything. But other than that, back in the swing of things here, and we're almost midway through the week.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I was saying beforehand to Will, both my car and house air conditioning went out. So I'm the opposite of a vacation right now, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Not a great time.
Not at all.
Okay. That is okay, because it's draft season. Me and you just finished up our Triple S Showdown mocks. Or not mocks, actual drafts.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, real drafts.
So that worked out pretty well. That was fun.
Yeah, always a good little exercise. You do it over a week or so.
Tough league to draft in. We had said it before in last week, but yeah, Superflex, tight end per diem, a lot of different scoring formats. Tough league to draft in, but that's what makes it fun.
Absolutely. Pulled up a couple of headlines here for the last week here, Steve. I just kind of called a few things. I don't know if we talked about the rookie Rashad Bateman's injury. I think that was right around the time we recorded last week. But it seems like it's definitely nothing minor. Does seem like it is somewhat major, but they're saying weeks, not months. So that's a better sign.
Yeah, definitely. Still not ideal, but better.
Yeah. Yeah, and rookie receiver, you redraft the leagues, you're probably not drafting him now. If you were, it was mid to late rounds, but definitely something to take note of. Probably off a lot of people's draft boards. In the positive direction, though, as of early last week, Carson Wentz is trending upward. They're trending toward playing in week 1, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that gives you a little bit more confidence in the other weapons. The Pittman, the flyer on Hilton, stuff like that. Wentz is still a big time gamble, but overall, that's good news.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it gives you a little more confidence in some of the other weapons with Taylor and some of the receivers that are there. Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned Justin Jefferson getting hurt while we recorded last week, but news came back that it seems like it's more just a sprain, so avoided the major issues there with him. But still something, I guess, to monitor as we move along here in our drafts. Worrisome there. Got Elijah Moore got hurt last week with a quad injury. Doesn't seem like it's anything super major, but definitely something that is going to hinder him, especially a rookie here in minicamp or in training camp. Yeah,
not ideal. If he starts off slow, it usually takes rookies a little while to get acclimated anyway, so it's just going to push him further out.
Yeah, actually, I saw this one this weekend, and I didn't get to talk to you about it. Former Washington running back Darius Geis has officially been suspended the first 6 weeks of the season. So I guess his off-the-field issues have, I wouldn't say been resolved, but had a resolution.
Yeah, the legal case was dropped, I believe.
So, I mean, no one's picked him up yet, but that is something, Dynasty League-wise, if you don't want to pick a guy like that up just for moral reasons, totally get it. But if it's something that you want to take a flyer on, he could be a guy that suspended 6 weeks, but ends up in maybe a decent situation because he had some talent, just was never really able to stay healthy, and obviously, stay out of trouble as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see. I don't have much hope for him, given he hasn't played in a while. He got hurt all the time when he did play, and the off-field trouble. So I'm not really expecting much. But yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, there's some minor ones. Anthony Miller got hurt a few days ago. Was carted off with a shoulder injury. I don't know. Too many people were going to take a shot on him down there in Houston, but Curtis Samuel came off the PUP list, so that's exciting. I know a lot of people are hype on him coming into the draft season, so getting him fully practicing is good. Melvin Gordon dealing with a groin strain. Any movement there for you for Gordon or for the rookie Williams?
I wasn't really drafting Gordon to begin with, so nothing really changes on that front. Javonte Williams, he probably gets a little bit of a bump. Maybe I draft him. Yeah, no, I'd have to think about that. He might get a nice little bump on that because a groin injury is definitely something that could linger. I guess I would give him a bit of a bump. How about you? Does that impact you at all?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, you're a little more confident that maybe he gets more carries to start the year. Maybe they don't want to rely too much on Melvin. If he does have somewhat of an injury here, and we're 2-3 weeks away from the start of the season. So definitely something to think about. And maybe they become a little closer in their drafting, but probably just a little more confident in taking Williams because maybe he gets a role earlier than we expect.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, other than that, David Johnson apparently is third on the list on the depth chart, which is interesting. Going to play more of a Duke Johnson-esque role. I know a lot of people are going to be pretty bummed, but Tim Tebow has been released. Steve, how are you feeling with that?
It changes everything for fantasy, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, if you can't block as a tight end, you're not going to make it. So no surprise.
Exactly. And the last couple of things I saw here today, Darren Waller is back at practice. I know a lot of people were worried because he was out of practice for a while there. So that's definitely something to note and maybe be a little more confident taking him there in the second or third round. And then Chase Claypool went down today, got looked at on the sidelines. I didn't get any final word on it, but it seemed like people were saying it wasn't as serious as initially thought. But definitely take note and definitely think, keep an eye on that and how Chase Claypool does. Because I know he was a mid-round guy I was rising on. I don't think you were as high, but definitely someone that a lot of people are going to take a shot on as your, third, fourth, fifth receiver.
Yeah, got to take note of that. That's a big deal, and it might be a bump for Deontay Johnson too.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the major things here. Minor, Kerryon Johnson was waived by the Eagles. Kind of thanks for him. I know we were both fans of his coming out, but it seems like might be a career for him. He probably gets picked up somewhere else, but it was an injury designation, so I don't think he was even able to make it through camp without injury. So that's just not a great sign for him going forward.
Yeah, the end of the road. I mean, he might end up somewhere, but not in any kind of relevant role. So that's a shame, but it is what it is.
Yeah, well, it wraps up, just kind of quick news rundown here. Any other things that you have to touch on here before we jump into our mock draft?
No, I don't think so. I think we can jump right into it. We got a 14-team mock draft here today, probably our last 14-teamer of the year. I'm drafting out of the 5 spot, and you all the way back there in the 11 spot. So, interesting.
Yeah, it usually feels like you're at the end, but not quite there at the 11.
Yeah, kind of that. Still kind of in the middle, back into the middle. So, we'll see how it plays out. You ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go ahead and get this thing going. McCaffrey going first off the board. Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor. That puts me on the clock. An interesting spot. I mean, a 14-team league, in a regular kind of 12-team league, you can make a case if, this is where you would draft Adams if you wanted to go with a wide receiver. But I feel like in a 14-team league, it's that much more deep, and you can't really pass up on a running back at this stage in the game. I'm definitely not. It's really ultimately between Derrick Henry and Zeke for me. Getting some good reports on Zeke that's making me feel a little bit better there. And I think that's where I'm going to lean, given, he's got some pass catching chops that Derrick Henry doesn't have. And, the more we get closer to draft season, the more I worry a little bit about Henry maybe getting some of his touchdowns taken away, with Julio there now, assuming Julio's going to catch some touchdowns. But at the end of the day, just more work going to the passing game and maybe hurting Henry. Not that he's going to fall in the top 12 or anything, but, where I would normally lock him in at like 4, I'm dropping him back a couple more spots. So I'm going to go ahead and just lock in Zeke here. I don't think I've mocked and had him all year, so we'll see how everything plays out with him on my team. There goes Derrick Henry right afterwards. Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Tyreek Hill, the first wide receiver off the board at the 1-9, and then Aaron Jones. You're on the clock.
Yeah, it puts me in an interesting spot because I was looking at the kind of first wave of running backs there, which are all here off the board. Kelsey, and then some of the receivers. With the receiver position so deep and this being a 14-team league, I'm more inclined early on here to go with the less deep positions like tight end and running back. So that puts Kelsey squarely in my queue here. And then also you have your running backs that are available in Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson. So some decent options there. I want to try to risk it here, and we're going to go with Kelsey here at the 11 spot. and see which of these running backs get back. I doubt Austin Ekeler makes it back there, but might be able to get a Najee or Antonio Gibson in the next round and have that tight end position really locked away in a very deep league, and then really be able to focus on those other more multiple positions. And then obviously we'll see how the quarterback looks later in the draft here with 2 extra teams going with the position. So we're going to lock in Kelce here first. After him, Austin Ekeler, Pat Mahomes, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, and DK Metcalf. So a couple of the receivers going off the board there. At this stage, deciding between a Joe Mixon, a Najee Harris, and Antonio Gibson. Definitely tough between the 3. I think I like Gibson the most. Interesting that his ADP is the lowest out of the 3. Mixon, Najee, and Gibson. It's tough because I'm trying to figure out who seems to be the safest option. And, surface level, you do think it's Mixon because he has the most track record behind him there. I don't know that you and I have been super high on him, but it just seems like they should, have a better offense. The line isn't great, but it's interesting. I think I heard someone comparing Mixon to Harris, and they're in pretty similar situations outside of the Steelers' defense being a lot better. So I think that gives me a slight bump to Najee over Mixon. I'm still actually going to look to go with it. Najee over Mixon there. But I'm still going to look to go with Antonio Gibson. I really think he's going to take that another step forward. He proved that he can run the ball really effectively. And he was an excellent pass catcher coming out of college. So can only imagine that that's going to remain the same or get better. He's a guy that I think has a pretty safe floor, not too much around him there. And a great defense just like Najee. Really the only difference is, quarterback. And then the offensive line, I think, is a little bit better in Washington. So we're going to go with Antonio Gibson here. A little bit of a reach, says ADP, but I pretty satisfied there, starting off with Kelce and Gibson here in a pretty deep league. After him, Calvin Ridley, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, it would have been nice for Najee to get to me. I was getting a little excited after the Joe Mixon pick that, maybe he'd slip on through, but apparently not. So again, we keep pounding that's deep league, but I mean, because it's a deep league, I struggle to not pick another wide or running back here. I'm definitely not going with a wide receiver. I wouldn't mind a tight end. I'm wondering if one of them could get back to me. Probably not, but maybe Waller's ADP has fallen a little bit since the injury, and he could slip through. I don't think so, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to pass up on another quality running back to get a tight end now. I'm okay waiting and see if I can get somebody in that Andrews tier. And running backs, we're looking at Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs. So the one that jumps out to me out of all of them would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I could see a path where Swift's really good. I could see a path for J.K. Dobbins, but Clyde is on the best offense in the league, and he can catch the ball. He can do a lot of different things. We didn't see it all last year, so they could be holding him back, or maybe he's not as good in the NFL as we thought he was going to be. But I want to put my bet there, given the offense that he's on and that upside. Like Clyde has top 5 upside to me, if he could put it all together. He's got to get some touchdowns. You could steal some touchdowns. If you grab, siphon one off of Tyreek and siphon one off of Kelce on the year, get 2 more touchdowns. It's a big deal. And it's definitely something that happens year in and year out across the league. So I don't think it's a big reach to say that could happen. So I'm going to lock him in as my second wide receiver. I like my 12-team leagues where I could get him as like my third, but we'll lock him in as my second. Still pretty comfortable there. My tight end idea is squashed almost immediately. Keenan Allen, then Kittle and Waller go back to back. DeAndre Swift rounding out the second round. And then we got McLaurin, Dobbins, Montgomery, and Josh Allen, our second quarterback off the board. So here I am again. We'll run down some positions here. At running back, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Chris Carson, Daryl Henderson, Travis Etienne, Kareem Hunt. At wide receiver, Allen Robinson, Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp. So plenty of good options here. in both positions, really. I mean, adding Josh Jacobs or Daryl Henderson here for 3 running backs in this deep of a league is pretty good. Allen Robinson, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Godwin, all good wide receiver ones. I think I want to see, though, what this team would look like in a deeper league if I started with 3 running backs. As deep as the wide receiver position is, it is a little bit of a gamble to wait this long to get a wide receiver since there's that many more players getting taken. But I kind of want to see what it would look like. And I think the guy I want to take a shot on, believe it or not, is going to be Daryl Henderson. It could blow up in my face if he gets hurt, but if he can manage to stay healthy for the majority of the season, and the Rams offense being the guy, that could be a huge win. And I think he's got upside that the others probably don't have. I think Josh Jacobs probably still has it, but the others in this tier don't. So we're going to lock him in, see what this 3 running back start looks like in a bigger league. So he's locked in. Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, Chris Carson off the board.
No.
Oh, no.
Carson, man. I was hoping one of them
Wow.
got through. And I figured it might have been Henderson had you not taken him. But, yeah, unfortunately, not the case. Yeah, man, long distance. I thought I would be reaching a bit there for him, but you made the reach there for me. So we'll take a look and see what's available here. You still only have those top 2 quarterbacks off the board and the top 3 tight ends, both positions that I'm not necessarily looking at here, given that I have taken a tight end already. So receivers, we're looking at Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore. Quite a few options there. Given that the teams behind me, all 3 of them have a combined 1 running back, I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to get a decent receiver in that kind of tier of guys in the next round. And the running back position is drying up quickly. And the guy that I was looking at, in addition to Daryl Henderson there, because I figured that Sanders, Jacobs, and Carson would be gone, is Kareem Hunt. It's just a safer option, and weird taking him in the 3rd round here. But I guess you're probably looking at, 28 picks plus 10. So you're looking at, pick 39, 40. His ADP is 54, but, given that it's a scarce league, you want to make sure you can lock in those scarce positions, and that's tight end and running back. So this will give me a second running back and tight ends. So I've got the starting positions there locked in, and then pretty confident I'll be able to get a decent receiver, or maybe look to just lock in a 3rd running back after that as well. So we're going to start here and grab Kareem Hunt. After him goes Julio, Kyle Pitts, Lamar Jackson, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore. Wow, no one goes running back. That's interesting. So 1 running back there on the turn. So you still have Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, Robert Woods, Adam Thielen, Jamar Chase. And then at the running back position, Travis Etienne, Myles Gaskin, James Robinson, Jonathan Williams, Mike Davis. Decent options. Don't know that I'm overly thrilled with any of the running backs there. So I'll probably look to just kind of sit here and take a good receiver. Maybe not an elite one, but you're looking at probably Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods. And then you got CeeDee Lamb, Adam Thielen available. So, man, something that we really wants to take a shot on Lamb. I think I might be able to get some value a little later. It just feels really weird taking him as your first receiver and 4th overall pick versus a guy like Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods. Let's see. That put us at, ADP-wise, it's pretty on par for Kupp and for CeeDee Lamb. I think I'm going to go with a little bit more safety here and just grab one of these LA receivers. I'm going to be able to take some upside shots on some younger guys a little later, but it just seems like investing and banking a lot on CeeDee Lamb, whereas Cooper Kupp, I think we're both higher on that offense now with Stafford in town. So I'm going to go Cooper Kupp, played a little safe there. And after him, Kyler Murray, Travis Etienne, Tyler Lockett, CeeDee Lamb, and Jamar Chase.
This is a tough spot for me. The wide receivers that we're looking at, Robert Woods, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson. Some in there I'd be comfortable with as my one, namely, Robert Woods would be number one on that list. Deontay Johnson, not bad either. But at the same time, you got Mark Andrews and Hawkinson left, and that's it until you hit the drop off of the tight end tier. And I kind of want to strike there. So I guess we could punt the wide receiver position one more round, grab the tight end, knowing we're not going to have to do it anymore, start working on some wide receivers. I am very worried, though. I mean, no. You know what? I'm going to pivot because you know why, and I'm sure you already saw this, Will. The two teams after me already have tight ends. So in order for me to get burned, both of these teams are going to have to go to tight end. So I'm going to roll the dice that that's not going to happen. I'm going to grab my Robert Woods now since I'm more comfortable with him as my wide receiver one. And then hopefully one of Andrews or Hawkinson gets back to me. That would be the ideal situation. We'll see how that plays out. We'll lock in Robert Woods. Just more comfortable with him. Adam Thielen's good, but I don't like him as my one.
Doubling down on the Rams. Any
no,
thought
I think
there?
it's a good enough offense to do it. Should be pretty strong. And part of it's the other options. Like Adam Thielen, probably be a solid guy, but not a great one. Brandon Ayuk definitely could, but you're banking on a breakout. OBJ, you just can't trust. Galladay, I don't really trust. Deontay Johnson's not bad. He probably would have been the option if I waited. And then after that, I mean, it just gets worse and worse. So it's largely a factor of the other options around him. And it does look like my gamble paid off. So Mark Andrews goes off the board right after. That was kind of worrisome. But then Russell Wilson, Gaskin, Brandon Ayuk to round out the fourth, starting the fifth, Justin Herbert, OBJ, Kenny Galladay, and James Robinson. So Hawkinson does get to me. He's the last guy in this tier that I am really happy leaving with. So we'll go ahead and lock him in here, get the tight end position out of the way, then we can focus more on wide receivers when everything gets back to me here. Thielen goes up the board. Mike Davis, Javonte Williams there, 5'8", Dak Prescott, and Michael Thomas.
All right. So once again, a couple of running backs go. Davis and Williams were guys I was hoping would get back, kind of just play the turn there that doesn't have any running backs available. So looking still at those positions, not ready to go quarterback yet. We've got Chase Edmonds, Melvin Gordon, Raheem Mostert, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, Trey Sermon, wide receiver, Deontay Johnson, Devonta Smith, T. Higgins, Juju, Claypool. So I'm torn here between going Deontay Johnson, I just kind of think is the best overall value of one of the positions there, or going with a running back and getting a receiver in the next round with the anticipation that they're going to go running back behind me, but didn't work out last time. So it really comes down to Deontay Johnson or probably a Melvin Gordon, maybe even a Raheem Mostert. Not too thrilled to grab them here with only having one receiver. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Deontay Johnson and just get that skill player locked in, have really all of my flex options filled. I'm pretty confident with Gibson, Hunt, running back, Cup, Deontay, receivers with Kelsey as kind of the key to the whole cog. So we're going to go Deontay Johnson. After him, Devonta Smith, Juju Smith-Schuster, DJ Chark, Leonard Fournette, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins. Man, these teams are not going running back. That is interesting here in a 14-teamer.
Yeah, that's not going to work out for them. Even the one that does have the running back, I mean, to grab 4 wide receivers, I mean, you could start all 4 of them. Wait, no, there's 5 of them.
But one of them's like Waddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5
5. You got a Waddle in there. You got Devonta Smith, which is a risk. I don't. Chark is in there. That's not ideal. And, the one with the Eckler is a great pick, but you don't even have like an elite tight end or quarterback to kind of balance a little bit. I'm not going to like that team. I know it.
So back on the clock here, and we're have balance still struck, so we can go receiver or running back. Receiver, you got Claypool, Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, nice upside guy, Debo, Robbie. Jeudy would probably be the pick there, just with the little uncertainty with Sutton coming back. It's tough, them both being there, but I think I'm actually going to go with a Denver Bronco, but not either of those two. And guy that we talked about earlier with Melvin Gordon. I know we were, both weren't feeling great about Melvin. But as long as, the injury isn't serious, I still think he and Williams, will both run the ball a fair amount. And given that this is a league where you're going to need some depth, 14 teams, getting Melvin as my third running back here in the 6th round, pretty happy about that. So we're going to go Melvin Gordon, lock him in as one of the flex options and really just give, some depth in a league where there are teams that do not have a running back yet. So definitely scary to see that. But Melvin off the board here after him. Claypool, Fant, Chase Edmonds, Aaron Rodgers, and Cortland Sutton.
Okay, this worked out pretty well for me. Sutton was somebody that I was going to be looking at. But honestly, like with me getting my second wide receiver at this point in the 6th round, and the options there, I don't know if I would have rolled a dice with Sutton. Like I really like him, but I don't need a slow start off an injury and then, Locke just not being good or Judy ascending or something like that and creating a bad story. That would put me in a bad spot. So I'm looking at Debo or Robbie Anderson here. Debo kind of similar to Sutton, doesn't have the big injury that Sutton did, but he's had plenty of injuries. You could easily craft a narrative where he's just not as relevant. And then Robbie Anderson, I think, is probably the safer of the options. I think with similar upside, a really good year last year with Bridgewater. I think Darnold's probably going to be better than Bridgewater. They've worked together in the past. Hopefully that means there's some sort of chemistry there. So I think for my 2, I'm going to go with Robbie Anderson. Get another wide receiver off here, and he's one that I trust as my 2. I hate, and at the same time, he gives me some sort of upside. I think like a Debo probably has more upside, as does a Sutton. Not that he's available to me, but I think they have more upside. But I think Robbie gives me a good balance of safety and upside. So we'll lock him in there. Makes you feel a little bit better about, waiting for the wide receiver. A lot of running backs going off the board. Ronald Jones, Mostert, Sermon, Gesicki there at 6'14". Debo finally at 7'1". Judy, Chenault, and Brandon Cooks. That's a shame because at this pick, I really would have liked to go with Chenault and take a shot on a guy there. So taking a look at the wide receivers, we got Landry, Boyd, Antonio Brown, Will Fuller, Hollywood Brown, Michael Pittman. At running back, still got Michael Carter, Kenyon Drake, James Robinson, Damien Harris, David Johnson, Zach Moss. So some pretty solid options. I think I'm not in love with the wide receivers here. Landry's not bad. Boyd will probably be fine. So will Antonio Brown, but I'm not in love with them. So I think I would rather go with another running back before this pool really dries up, because when it comes back around to me, there's not going to be a lot left at the running back position, especially with what's going on behind you there. Well, with all those teams, Some of them could easily take 2 running backs on both their picks here. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Damien Harris now. He's the safest option here. He's got decent upside. I'm sure you can argue that Carter or James Conner have higher upside, but I think Damien Harris rounds out my running back grouping well, and provides you some safety. So we're going to lock him in there before all these wide receiver running backs, I'm sure, keep going. Landry, Connor.
Sniped again. Team 10.
Oh, man, with Carter. Yeah, so Connor, Goddard, or David Johnson, and then Michael Carter. Now you have a decision to make.
Yeah, so, there's really not a ton I love at running back. Kenyon Drake, Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, Singletary, Hines, Gus Edwards. So at that position, probably going to wait and just grab some depth pieces and really be banking on Gibson, Hunt, and Gordon. So here, the thought is receiver or quarterback, because there is still a few guys available in Brady, Stafford, Hurts, and Tannehill. So what I'm going to do is go with a receiver here, and then see kind of who falls, since Brady and Stafford, even Hurts or Tannehill, if one of the other 2 go. But Brady or Stafford, I'd be okay with either one of them, assuming that one of the 2 teams who do have a quarterback behind me don't go with a second quarterback, but not a running back. You just imagine if Team 13, 0 running backs, and Pat Mahomes goes with a second quarterback. You can't see me, but I'm shaking my head here. Like, this, we will see what happens there. But we're going to go with the running back position here. And one that, if this works out, I think will be either way, I'll be able to get a stack here. And I'm going to go with Antonio Brown, a guy that I think has been rising on a lot of draft boards because we just don't really know what's going to happen in that receiving core. But I think he's got very good chemistry and rapport with Tom Brady.
The offense can support all of them too, I think. Not consistently.
Yeah,
like they're not going to have three wide receivers two every week, but Antonio Brown's going to pop off.
Yes.
Plenty.
Yeah, and I think you probably get at least 2 top 24 receivers every week. And it probably will rotate.
Like the Panthers last year.
As long as you can be in there. Yeah, exactly. A lot like that. So locking him in here, I'll be able to either stack him with Brady or Cooper Kupp with Matt Stafford. So either way, I should be able to get a nice little stack by going quarterback next. So Tannehill goes off the board. Kenyon Drake, Rob Gronkowski, Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, and Trevor Lawrence.
Happening with this stupid
This guy
team.
goes 2 quarterbacks and leaves both the ones that I really was like, watch, he's going to go Brady here. And he goes Trevor Lawrence. Interesting. Well, this is an easy pick for me. As much as I do like Stafford, I mean, that offense, we know what it is within Tampa. We know what Tom Brady has. And it really gives me some solidified starters there, just kind of with the uncertainty that we're going to have with depth here. I'm going to feel really good about my starting lineup with Antonio Brown locking that next flex position. Maybe want to get some depth at receiver and running back in case someone falters, but overall, I'm going to feel really good about this here. Anybody you hoping falls to you there? You thinking quarterback here before I take Brady?
I mean, I got to start turning to that direction. Jalen Hurts is looking at me as probably the last one that I really like. I like Stafford, but I like Hurts more. Mm-hmm. Some other interesting options, but maybe Hurts here. We'll see what wide receivers left over too.
Right, so we'll see what gets to you. Brady, Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford, Tyler Boyd, Hollywood Brown, Will Fuller. So a couple of teams going second quarterback, feeling really good about getting Brady there. What are you going to do here, Steve?
Well, what I'm looking at here is probably Jalen Hurts. I don't want to wait at quarterback anymore. A lot of the options, there's a drop off. Watson, Fields, Matt Ryan, Trey Lance is interesting, but I'd rather have him as a second quarterback, not a first. So I want to draft them. 3 of the 4 teams after me have their quarterback, but clearly that's not stopping anyone from drafting 2. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in here. We have Corey Davis, Tyler Higbee, Robert Tonyan, and Michael Pittman go off to round off the 8th. Now, Tonyan and Higbee, they're both backup tight ends next to Waller and Kittle. And then to start the 9th, Logan Thomas, another backup tight end. Baker Mayfield, Singletary, Irv Smith, another backup tight end. So things worked out pretty well for me. Both Curtis Samuel and Mooney are available here. I really didn't think Curtis Samuel was going to get to me, but 4 tight ends going off the board is going to do that. So I can't pass him up. I like him more than Mooney. We've seen more from him, and I trust his offensive situation and coaching situation a little bit more. So we're going to go ahead and lock in Curtis Samuel here. Oh, yeah. Whew. I had a quick flashback and thought, oh my God, he's a teammate with Robbie Anderson, but that is last year. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. We're all good then. So we're going to go ahead and lock in Mr. Curtis Samuel there. Nyheim Hines goes off the board. Rashad Bateman, Deshaun Watson, Michael Gallup, and Mike Williams.
All right. So given that I've now got Brady and I've got my tight end and Kelsey locked up, I'm not looking at either of those positions. So we're going to fill the rest of the roster out with receivers and running backs. Once again, kind of given that scarcity of the running back position, we're going to look to go that first here. And I'm going to get one of my guys here that I've been drafting all offseason. That's Mr. Gus Edwards. Just kind of a tried and true, solid depth piece. Most leagues you're probably hoping to have him as your 5th or 6th running back. Here in a 14-teamer where I'm not getting my 4th one until the 9th round. I'm not really fretting or disappointed in getting him here. And then I'll be looking at the likes of Darnell Mooney, Henry Ruggs, maybe even trying to see if I can snag a Tony Pollard as a nice depth piece. as we just kind of build the rest of the depth of these rosters here. But we're going to go Gus Edwards first. Darnell Mooney goes. Elijah Moore, Henry Ruggs, Hunter Henry, Justin Fields, and then Tony Pollard off the board there. So a couple of guys I was looking at go off the board, unfortunately. We are going to pivot here a bit then, and going to be looking at the receiver position. We've got Russell Gage, Marvin Jones, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Running back, still got Jamal Williams, Philip Lindsay, Latavius Murray, J.D. McKissick, Kenneth Gainwell, Alexander Madison. So a couple of decent options there. I think kind of the top receiver for me is Russell Gage, another kind of more just solid piece to have. And so we're going to go with Russell Gage as a fourth receiver and have 4 more picks here to build up some more depth at those other positions. We have Mecole Hardman off the board next, Evan Ingram, Devontae Parker, Matt Ryan, and Trey Lance.
We're going to run down each position real quick here. We got Jamal Williams, J.D. McKissick, Philip Lindsay, Kenneth Gainwell, Latavius Murray, Alexander Madison at wide receiver. Looking at T.Y. Hilton, Marvin Jones, Nelson Aguilar, Rondell Moore, Cole Beasley, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So some interesting options. Marvin Jones I'd really like to add because he feels like he's going to be that solid guy on your bench. Kind of like he typically is. He'll be able to fill in there for those bye weeks, fill in for them injuries, maybe has some upside to start flexing. At the wide receiver position, though, Jamal Williams, given everyone's injured, is pretty enticing. Philip Lindsay, technically a starter. In the 10th round, that's hard to pass up. I don't know what kind of upside he has, but as a pure depth play, you need some wide receiver depth to get through those bye weeks. So I don't love it, but I don't think I could pass up on Lindsay. He's the last starting running back here. I mean, maybe Tevin Coleman for a little bit, but I don't think I could pass that up. It's a shame because you like drafting for upside late, but when it comes to running back, it's hard to find upside at running back late. Again, Kenneth Gainwell's here, but it's a solid depth play, and he can fill for some bye weeks or some injuries if something happens, if he is actually the starter. If not, I'm definitely getting burned, but we'll lock him in here. We'll see what gets back to me. There we go. So Kirk Cousins, T.Y. Hilton, Rondell Moore, Jamal Williams, Marvin Jones, there he goes, Kenneth Gainwell, Cole Beasley, and J.D. McKissick. So we'll try to strike a little bit of a balance here and grab a wide receiver now. Nelson Aguilar here, potentially the number 1 for New England, although I haven't heard the best camp reports out of him. From what I've heard, the quarterbacks are building rapport or better rapport with other wide receivers. I mean, it's just camp, but we'll see how that plays out.
They're practicing with the Eagles this week, and from some of the beat reporters I was listening to, apparently he's looked good against the Eagles' second unit, but he's looked like really bad against the starting defense. So they're not super pleased, I guess, with just the receiving core as a whole. There.
Yeah, and I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, but I heard that he beat Slay on a play and dropped an easy bomb touchdown. So, yeah, not ideal. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
He has had cases of the drop season.
Yeah, especially in Philly. That was his thing. We got Terrence Marshall, Traquan Smith, Jalen Reagor, Gabriel Davis, Sammy Watkins, Jacoby Myers. More interesting pick in New England, I think, at this point. But I think, and now I don't know if you want to consider this a snipe, Will, because I'm not entirely sure that you think he's going to get to you. But St. Brown, I think, is going to be my guy. A lot of good camp reports. I don't, with Woods, Anderson, and Samuel, I don't have to have him starting right away. So he can sit on the bench as he kind of gets used to everything. Goff's got to throw the ball to somebody. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there. Jonnu, Troutman, Ertz, Latavius Murray, and then finally Aguilar go off before your pick. Was Amon-Ra St. Brown someone you were targeting there?
No, I was really hoping for Latavius Murray. Unfortunately, he didn't get there. And then after him, there's a couple of the receivers I'm looking at here. Reagor, specifically, probably going to be the pick with just not too many running backs available there. So I'm going to go Reagor. He's been looking better the last few days at camp. Got my finger a little more on the pulse for this team, but I don't know if you saw the highlight catch that he had today, but it was just like a Odell Beckham level, just ridiculous one hand go up for it over one of the New England defenders, and people have been going wild for that. So obviously one catch doesn't make a season, especially in training camp, but if he can kind of get some confidence, playing against another team here in training camp and see what he looks like this week, not a bad shot here to take this late in the draft. Fifth receiver here in the 11th round. So we're going to go ahead and lock in Mr. Jalen Reagor here first. After Reagor, Gerald Everett, Chuba Hubbard, Fitzpatrick, Alexander Madison, Jared Cook, and Devontae Booker. So I have in my board here, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to get both or not. First one is who I'm going to go with here, Tevin Coleman. We'll see what you do if the other guy gets back to me here. But I wanted to get at least one more running back, hopefully two. So I feel like I got to go with one of them here. And then I've got a few decent receiver options that are available that should hopefully have at least one get back to me. So we're going to go with Tevin Coleman here. Starting running back. I wanted Michael Carter, 4 or 5 rounds ago. And to get a guy that, to start the season could be splitting time. I kind of have the Melvin Gordon and Tevin Coleman that, ideally are going to be starting early and then have some time to work the waivers or trades to get running backs throughout the season as needed. So I'm going to go with Tevin Coleman here. After him, Austin Hooper, Terrace Marshall, Tua, Traquan Smith, and Tim Tebow, newly free agent Tim Tebow off the board.
It takes a 14-team league to get him drafted. It's a shame. I did want to draft Gerald Everett here. Hawkinson, while I have him in that tier with Andrews and, just Andrews because I don't have Pitts in the same tier, he is a bit unproven. He's got a lot of drops in his past. So, some risk there. So I want to hedge that with another kind of upside guy with Everett now in Seattle. But that has that's disappeared on me. So I'm going to draft a wide receiver that I mentioned last time, or with my last pick here, and Jacoby Myers. Again, reports that I've seen is he's the one developing all the chemistry with the quarterbacks. I don't know if that's going to translate into a lot for fantasy. Maybe something decent, but I don't need it to. So I'm okay taking the shot with Jacoby. We're going to lock him in here, and I think I'm going to aim for a tight end here. My next pick, if he gets back to me. Sammy Watkins, Daniel Jones, Gabe Davis, Carson Wentz round out the 12th to start the 13th. Christian Kirk, Zach Wilson, AJ Green, and Rashad Penny. I don't think, we drafted him a couple times last year. I don't think we've drafted him all this year. I'm going to take a shot on Blake Jarwin, I think. The hype guy from last year. Schultz was good last year without Dak. So I don't see any reason why the tight end can't be relevant in Dallas. The concern would be that you can't support Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup, and feed Zeke. And Jarwin all at the same time. That does seem like a tall order, but let's just take an upside shot and see, what happens with him. If, I see good usage out of him the first week or two and, Hawkinson doesn't work out, then great. If he doesn't do anything, it's late. We could drop him, add somebody else. So we'll go ahead and add Mr. Blake Jarwin there. Carr goes off the board. Brian Edwards, that's a shame. That would have been a good pick for either of us, really. Kadarius Toney, Shepard, and Cole Kmet.
Yeah, he was one of the receivers on my list here, but I do have another one I'm interested in. And the running back that I was hoping for did make it back. And I want to see what you think here in a league like this. Gio Bernard, pass catching back in Tampa, obviously more of the third option right now, but injuries can occur, and he just seems to be a great fit there with no running back that knows how to catch the ball, knowingly or seemingly. I just think he's a good late round shot here to have just a depth at the position, adding him, as we mentioned, as I guess it would be 6th running back, and then be able to come back and get a receiver in the next round. Or, if there's no one there, just a skill player.
And he won't be James White, but maybe a discount James White, and in the 13th round, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're hoping here. So Gio is kind of the last RB depth position. After him, Ferkser, Paris Campbell, Manuel Sanders, Tariq Cohen, James White, and Javion Hawkins. So the receiver I'm going to go Edwards. There's going to be targets to go around behind Waller, and we don't know which one's going to be the number one yet. Ruggs, probably has the inside track given the draft capital that he has, and just the overall skill. Brian Edwards, different type of body type, so maybe he's in line for some red zone targets. John Brown's the most veteran receiver, I think, on the team or of the relevant target options. So you give that a bad shot here. You see what you got the first game or two, and not someone that you need to terribly hang on too long. So another veteran guy here after going with an upside guy in Rager. So I'm going to go John Brown to round out my draft. After him, Marlon Mack, Sony Michel, Jameson Crowder, I guess that's Daryl Williams in Kansas City, and teamless Le'Veon Bell off the board.
Surprising. My pick is pretty easy. It's really between two people. The one I'm going to draft is Marquez Callaway. With Traquan hurt, Michael Thomas going to be out for a while. Someone's going to catch the ball there. It's a reason for us drafting Troutman. So I think it's a fine, late round shot to take. The other option I was considering though was Xavier Jones. It's kind of like I mentioned before.
I'm in the queue as well. Definitely an interesting shot.
Yeah, especially for me who has Daryl Henderson. A guy that's been hurt a lot. Between now and the season, he could get hurt. Week 1, he could get hurt. He's not somebody I'm going to sit there and hold all season, but kind of a hedge to make sure I have another starting running back to start the year. But I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to go with Callaway here. I'm fine with either option there. We have Scott. There goes Xavier Jones, Nico Collins, and Damien Williams goes there with the last pick. So that's going to round out the draft. Will, you want to touch on your team here?
Pretty happy overall. Not going to really love a 14-team league team, given just the lack of depth that a lot of teams are going to get because of the amount of teams here in the league. But overall, starting positions, I'm pretty happy with, my starting running backs and receivers. And then, Kelsey and Brady seem to, lock and load there, barring injury. So it's really just going to be maneuvering in my flex positions. I do think Antonio Brown should be pretty good. And like you said, kind of more on and off. And Melvin Gordon, I think, is going to be good to start the season. And then I've got some depth behind him and just kind of work around whether it's Gage or Edwards or, if Rager pops off. You have some options available there. So, yeah, I'm overall pretty satisfied, especially going Kelsey in the first round.
Pretty happy with this team. I do look at the wide receiver grouping and get kind of worried. When you're starting 3, those 3 would be Robert Woods, Anderson, and Curtis Samuel. That could work out fine. And, it's not going to be a superstar group, I assume, but it doesn't need to be with that running back group. But it could pose some problems, if Terrence Marshall starts emerging halfway through the season and that hurts Robbie Anderson, or the Darnold, Anderson connection isn't that strong, or Darnold doesn't pick up the offense that well. That can be worrisome. Curtis Samuel, coming off of the injury, working in a new offense with a new quarterback could be a problem. So I could have an issue at wide receiver, but I also got the running back depth to make a trade if need be. Nice upside shot with Hawkinson and Hurts. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that team too. It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see. Both of us are satisfied with teams. There's some weird, I guess, picks throughout as well, but yeah, definitely interesting to see that you can walk away, somewhat satisfied here with the 14-team league.
That's for sure. And just to check in on our good friend Team 12. Ended up with Eckler, Tony Pollard, Booker, and Javion Hawkins as a running back group. That's not going to help you.
No, and Everett and Ferks are at tight end. If he didn't get Tannehill, he didn't really have receivers and Eckler, and that's it.
Yeah, that team's doomed. What a shame. Well, that's going to close out the mock. Tune in next week for another mock draft. I think we're doing a 12 team there on that front. But until then, trust your board.